If you're a gamer, there's a good chance that what I'm about to say is going to sound like heresy if you were saying that the Earth was not the centre of the universe in ye olden times. And that is that frequently when I am playing video games, I find myself not using a headset, instead relying on the quite frankly crappy audio that's coming from my TV or monitor. And this is kind of weird because, like any gamer, I want to play at the highest quality visuals possible, 4K, ray tracing, high refresh rate, and so on. But yeah, for audio, often, I mean, sometimes I was using a headset, but frequently I just wasn't. I think the habit formed, if I'm very honest with you guys, when I was doing a lot of benchmarking and testing. I found myself just getting so into the game when I was doing the benchmarking. I would be like playing it way longer than I should, and so it was just taking way too long to do the benchmarks. But then basically the kind of downtime I had in between noting all the results and writing reviews or whatever, well, I basically just didn't switch the audio devices just to save time and like tweak my setup. So yeah, I think that was kind of the habit that formed, but one thing's for certain, if you take away nothing else from this NZXT Relay review, even if this particular headset isn't for you after you listen to the review, all I'm going to say is that if you are relying on like TV audio or something like that, and you play immersive games like, for example, Returnal or horror games, please do yourself a favour and do consider picking up a headset, again, even if it isn't this one. Also, before we get too deep into the review, I want to mention that NZXT did send me their Relay headset for review purposes. Now, to be clear, this is not a sponsored review. All opinions are my own, there were no talking points given or any of that stuff, but I think that it's fair as a viewer for you to be informed that I was sent this, again, for review purposes, but again, this is not a sponsored video, and once again, all opinions of this headset are my own. With that said, let's look at the specs of the headset, shall we? I'll plonk a screen grab of their product page for you to kind of peruse, but a few highlights here. The headphone's weight is 263 grams without the microphone attached, and around 270 with the microphone attachment being around 10 grams in weight. The device feels pretty premium in the hands. An aluminum fork provides a nice stable structure for the plastic frame to rest on, and the pads and the headband are constructed from memory foam and leatherette covers. My head is of a larger size, but while I have experienced tightness for lesser fitting headphones before, particularly with pinching in the top or bottom of my ears, I haven't experienced it with this particular headset. Obviously, comfort when it comes to chairs or headphones or anything like that is going to be very individual based, but I also had someone else who's significantly smaller than me try them on, and she said that she found them comfortable for what that's worth. Now, of course, they are pretty adjustable anyway with lots of pivot points, and this is true of the mic, but we'll get more into that in a second. But I played Returnal for 3 to 4 hours in one sitting. There were no breaks at all, and personally everything felt great for me. I will add though that they are closed back, and perhaps during hot sweaty summer nights things could get maybe a little clammy. Again, the closed back can impact some headphones. However, we are certainly not in the height of summer right now in the UK, so obviously I can't be certain. Now, on the headset, the unit is devoid of cables and attachments out of the box. Instead, there are two jacks where you can attach various things. On the right ear cup is the port you can connect your gaming device, for example your PC. When it connects to the headphones, the cable extends several inches, and then you have controls for volume as well as muting. Then it continues its merry way to hook up to your PC's USB jack. If you do not wish to use USB, there's also another connector included for a 3.5mm audio jack / dual jack connector. This can be connected to various games consoles or your PC if you choose not to use the USB. On the other ear cup, the left one, you can connect up the mic. I'll talk more about the quality of it in just a second, but if you want the short version of my review, in terms of the mic quality, it's pretty darn good. I'll also add that the two ports are of different sizes, so you can't accidentally put one in the other. Now, let's focus on the audio of the headphones themselves for a moment. On the cable with the controls, you can adjust the volume of the headphones. Of course, this can also be affected from Windows as well, and there's also ability to mute audio, as I mentioned earlier. But if you want to adjust settings such as bass or other audio profiles, you'll need to definitely download the NZXT Cam software. Fortunately, you do not need to sign in, there's no account needed, which is definitely nice given the amount of software which does require this, but as a side note, the Cam software requires USB. It will not work with traditional jacks. USB is also the only way, at least to what I can figure out, to get DTSX working. So again, if that's something that you want to use, then USB it is. The driver size is 40mm and the frequency response is 20 to 40 Hz. Speaking about the volume first, the headset is comfortably loud. If you max the software audio sliders out and use the primary dial, I found around 70, maybe 80% is comfortable for most games, for example Returnal, and if it more than around 70 or 80 becomes uncomfortable for me, but again, your mileage may vary. The headset has closed backs, as I've mentioned a couple of times at this point, and I actually prefer that, generally speaking. I think it improves my immersion in a game. Returnal, which is one of the titles I spent longest with, is certainly unsettling. It has a lot of H.R. Geiger-inspired architecture and designs, kind of like Alien in some ways, but a little bit different as well. The best way of describing it is equal parts a surreal dream and a visual nightmare. The game really does come to life though with good audio. Frankly, the headphones at a decent volume just completely pull you into the fact that you're playing a game. It just makes it just mean that all you can really imagine is this alien world. It's pretty awesome. The overall audio quality on the cans is pretty good, particularly at the higher frequencies. My personal opinion though is that the bass seems a little more muted than what would be ideal. My suggestion, at least for my preferences, would be to go into the Cam software and play around with the bass profiles. You can nudge audio levels a little bit for the various frequencies, and this does help. Now I do want to stress that this is probably going to be slightly different on a game for game basis. But my personal opinion is to adjust the 30 to 125 frequency range. But as I said, even if you just choose the default bass profile, you're probably going to be at least a little bit better off. Now, for audio mixing itself, games like Doom Eternal, and this is certainly a preference, I think require the music to be louder, because I think that the metal music in Doom Eternal just almost becomes kind of part of the sound effects. It's just all kind of one and the other. But for other titles such as Returnal or Alan Wake, I would suggest reducing the OST, the music tracks, and instead bumping the sound effects and dialogue. I do want to stress that this has absolutely nothing to do with the headset itself. It's just my personal opinion for improving the immersion. And certainly these headset settings are definitely just for that. My general thoughts on the quality of DTSX is that it works well enough, but of course it will depend on a game-by-game basis. But general sound clarity and volume is great. The bass is lacking punch, but this can be adjusted to improve things significantly. In essence, are they the best pair of headphones on the market regardless of price? No, but at this price, particularly when you're taking into account the included microphone and how good that is in quality, we'll get to it more in a moment, I actually think this pair of headphones is pretty darn good in terms of its value. Now, like I said earlier, the mic is an optional attachment. It plonks itself in the left eardrum from the bottom, and it can be adjusted pretty freely actually. Basically, the arm of the mic can be spun around in the connector, bent into different angles, and so you'll find something that's going to work for you, I imagine. The mic has a sock, also known as a spongy bit at the end, which helps soften sounds and reduce clipping and audio. Frankly, I think that the mic itself is just really excellent in quality. Now, I want to be clear here, this is not the kind of quality that you would only be comfortable in, say, using at Discord, screaming at your teammate to stop standing in green fire, because even though it's green, it's still fire, and it is not a green herb from Resident Evil. Instead, this is the kind of quality that I think you could use for Skype presentations, podcasts, and so on. I'll read out a few sentences with my normal blue mic, then the NZXT headset, and these are both recorded simultaneously. So I'm recording this audio simultaneously on my normal Blue microphone, as well as of course the NZXT Relay microphone. So I'm going to repeat a couple of sentences essentially, and then we're going to hear it on one and then the other. The cat sat on the mat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Nvidia, GeForce, AMD, Radeon, Intel, Celeron, Pentium, PlayStation, Xbox, London, Seattle, the United States of America, the United Kingdom, Germany, Australia, China, Japan. I think that's just about it. I think you guys get a rough understanding now of what the audio quality is like between the two. So then, the headset retails at around £80 or $100 US. And though there are some good deals to be had, you may be able to get it cheaper. For this price point, in my personal opinion, if you need a mic with your headset, this is great value to be had. The sound of the headset for this price is pretty damn good, especially given the microphone that's included. Now, obviously, if your budget can stretch another $50, $100, there are certainly more impressive headsets which are on the market, which do offer better audio, especially for the bass, but again, then you're looking at more money, and because you have such good microphone included here, I think for budget gamers, this is a really solid device. I have absolutely no issues recommending this to someone who is on the market for such a device, and in fact, I've already recommended this pair to a friend.